Hi, everyone. After tea for this weekend, I thought that we should continue this conversation with friends all over the world as to what we are seeing and how we figure out the new normal. And so today I have with me someone who I have huge admiration and respect for, and that is Refaat Sabbah. Refaat is the Director General of an entity called the Teacher Creativity Center in Palestine. But more importantly, he's been involved with so many education initiatives around the world, but mainly in the Middle East. But recently, he was also selected as the president of the Global Campaign for Education, which is the largest civil society grouping for education organizations in the world, and very influential. Refaat, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Vikas, for this opportunity.
And so, the question that we're going to have I have a few questions, and what we want to do is have a look at, what we heard from Hiba, for example, on the weekend was this, the phenomena of school closure around the world is obviously an adverse thing, but in the Middle East, and especially where you are, you have to deal with these issues on a day-to-day basis. Now, before we come to the current crisis, can you tell us, in terms of just context-wise, take your country or take your region, what is the status of education there?
In general, before the crisis, the educational system in all the Arab countries really is under a very difficult situation. Not just regarding the conflict situation that we are in, most of the Arab countries. If you speak about Palestine, you speak about Syria, Libya, Iraq, Tunis, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen. So mostly, and even the other countries who don't have direct conflict, they are affected by the conflict. So this is one of the most important things that we are facing, or difficulties that we are facing from the educational system perspectives. And so the most of the educational cadre, if I can name it like that, including the teachers, the principal, the student, the families, who is following the TVs, and they saw 1,000 of children has been killed, 1,000 of a school has been damaged. They sometimes they lose the hope in some how. While there is another things that's related to the financial of education. Like, despite this difficulties, also in the other hand, there is a difficulties of the financial issue. Most of the Arab countries, they don't have enough funding for the education, and that's why when you speak about the capacity of teachers, you have a problem here. When you speak about the infrastructure of the schools, you have a problem here. And this is in one side. On the other side, if you speak about the quality of education, I think we need to rethink about the educational system in the region. We have to rethink again about the context of the textbooks, what we are teaching the student, what the values that we have in this textbook, how we focus on this. The evaluational system that exists in the Arab world, the strategy that we are using in the Arab world are they traditional or creative? What the product of the educational system that we have all over these years? From my point of view, we have educational crisis historically, and that's why now in the Arab world we are opening the call to rethink again about the educational system and the future of education.
And so, Refaat, you spoke a little bit about hope, and people getting dispirited as a result of all the different things that you see in the region. What are the strategies that teachers have evolved, or school leaders have evolved, to make sure that students and those stakeholders in education remain in good spirits and actually continue their commitment to education?
This is one of the things that actually this crisis also bring to us. If we were really giving attention for the teachers and the school and the student, it will be easy for us to deal with this crisis. the capacity of the teachers, it not just from technical issue, also it's need to be from attitude. Like, for example, if you trust the teachers and you trust the capacity of teachers and you wish to create solidarity, exchange experience among the teachers, then in any time you face any crisis, the teacher themselves will succeed, they can come over it. But if you deal with the teacher as they're subject to you and they have to do what you want as ministries or as a government, then the teacher in the crisis will say, okay, I am waiting your policies, I am waiting your information, I am waiting your order to me what to do. And this is very important in the school system, when you are really pushing the teacher to have what we call free learning, free teaching. The teacher, they should have the space. They should have the freedom of how to choose the resources, the techniques, the strategy. If you build them like that, they will be able to deal with the crises that they are facing, even the current past crisis that we are in always. So like in our situation in the conflict area, where sometimes you cannot go to Yemen or you cannot go to Somal, even in the same country like West Bank and Gaza, they cannot go to each other. So in this situation, you need to have what we call it uncentralized control, in order to give this space for the teachers and the school principal, and to be able to create and to do whatever they see is very important for them, depend on the current situation that they are living.
So, Refaat, on the weekend at T4, we heard a lot about placing trust into teachers' hands. Are there any, and I know I don't want to put you in hot soup, but are there any ministries in the Middle East that you see are listening and actually using that approach to engage with teachers and co-create with them?
In general, the education ministries in the Arab world is much better than the others, because here there is a lot, much more cooperation and collaboration between the civil society and the ministries. There is an open channel between the teachers and the ministry, much better than the other ministry. But however, despite this, still there is an authoritarian system that's control all the educational system, including the ministries and the school. And this is, we should leave this circle. We should leave to control even the attitude, the thinking, the dreams, the strategy of the teachers. And we will not be able to move if we keep the teacher under our orders always. So, but I can say that there is a good relation in many countries, and we want to reinforce this. So we are not speaking from what we think in the future should be. Also, we are not just criticizing the situation, but we see it is not enough. The relation is not enough between the teachers and the ministries. Still, the teachers, they are follow all the orders of the ministries. Sometimes they leave their creativity. Sometimes they leave their spaces because they are afraid from not doing what the government or the ministries they want. And this is, it's clear even in this crisis. The problem, even in this crisis, the teachers are sitting in the houses and they are waiting the order from the ministries, while the ministries, they don't have the solution. So the solution should come from the people themselves, from the teachers themselves. And what you did, because in the T4, what you did, you brought all the people together to think together how they can come over their crisis, because we were in a crisis also. We found ourselves in a such dilemma, in a such darkness road. And what you did is you brought all the teachers with the educators to clean up inside themselves and to think freely, healthy, and use the hope That's also to believe that we can come over all these difficulties. This is what you did in the T4, which is very important in this moments.
Thank you, Refaat. I'm looking at the comments over here, and we have friends from all over the world watching. So we have the Philippines. I see a teacher from Jordan, a teacher from Lebanon. I see from India, from Bangladesh. There's one question that if you had to ask Refaat, what would it be? Please put a comment up on either the Facebook group or the YouTube channel. About education in the Middle East in particular, which is what Refaat has committed his lifelong journey to. Refaat, one of the questions that I'm asking today is to do with, there's a concern about the learning loss that has happened as a result of school closures. And the question I'm asking is, what can we do to catch up? 2-3 months of children staying at home, maybe receiving, maybe a fraction of the kind of learning that they can using online technology, if they have it, is fine. But, the loss in terms of the time that you can get in a classroom and the knowledge you can build, obviously is impacted. Now, in the region, you have a lot of stop and start. How is it that you approach learning loss, and what are the strategies that we could put in place to catch up?
I have my point of view, Vikas, on this. I don't know if they lose. Yes, if you thinking about the textbook that the student they use in the school, yeah, they use some knowledge from the textbooks, but they didn't lose other knowledge, because the experience that the student live in their houses, with their families, with their colleagues.
Refaat, listen, I don't disagree with you, but actually, there's a lot of people on the Facebook group who also made a similar comment, and I sympathize and I agree with you to a degree. But it comes down to, when I talk about learning loss, I mean in terms of subject matter loss. And so, how do you make up for that? So, there's a conversation that's happening, which is around, do you in Europe we have summer coming up. So should you use the summer period to
Yes,
take them back to school?
But
So
because
things like that.
No, because you can use the summer, you can use many things, but the wisdom in education very important. Like how we can teach the student to invest in the knowledge that they had. Also, it's not just to bring them what is in the textbook and to teach them, not just to care about read. If you focus on reading and writing for those children who really we are afraid that they lose something, it will not help. What will help is to use the wisdom in education by investing and using the knowledge that the student had. So the kind of strategy, the type of the strategy, the quality of the teaching strategy that we should use, this is very important. Even like the student, this is one of the problems, because that we thought that the children is young and they don't know nothing, but they do much more than we thought, and that's why we have to deal with them as adults, even to put them in the context that we are in, and let them to link between the knowledge that they had from the textbook, or the knowledge that they gain through the learning distance, and the context that they are living in. In the coming period, if it will answer your question, in the coming period, it should be at least 1 month orientation before the beginning of the next year. It should be focused on the main knowledge and the skills. You don't have to cover the history and the geography and all these things. Let them to understand the main knowledge and the main skill that they need. And this is, I think, that they need. But also, you have to think also to analyze what knowledge and the skill they have been gained. Some students, they gain what we call it solving the problems, critical thinking. This is also, we have to see it. If how much the student lose from learning in this crisis. This is what I am saying. But I will say something very important in the coming period. The crisis will not end next month or in the coming months. So the ministries, they cannot do, or they cannot have solution alone. They have to have partnership with the society. I don't say just the NGOs. I mean the society in all the element of society. And the partnership should be in giving the same meaning of the things. We have to be partner in giving the meaning of the crisis, in giving the meaning what happened to us, in order to be able to have partnership in giving the solution. If the society, if all the what we called it civil society in all phases of the civil society, if they are not part of giving the meaning of what happened, or they didn't understand exactly what is happening and what is going, then they will not be able to be part of the solution. And the solution is very big, very huge, very risky. All the people, they should be in one unit. And that's why the partnership is very, very important. And this lead us to something much important, the solidarity and the unity. We have to have a solidarity among us at the national level, at the regional level, at the international level. For example, we had meeting with UNESCO today about also the teachers issue. And we discovered there is some countries, they have the ability, they have the knowledge, they have the equipment, they should help the others who cannot. Like, for example, Yemen, Sudan, Somalia, Palestine, they don't have enough financial to be really to be prepared to the reopening school. Because when you speak about the opening school, because you have to think about something else. For example, the social distance. This means that we need more teachers. We need more rooms for the schools. We need more healthy care. This means that we have to think about financial. From where we will bring teachers, from where we will bring rooms. And that's why to have partnership with the community is very important. The community will help you in finding the solution for all the difficulties that the children may face in the coming period.
So if you're a funder, what advice would you give to them about education in the Middle East at the moment?
I will give the money to have more capacity for teachers and to strengthen the infrastructure of the schools, and to also to push the ministries to think in two ways: learning distance and face-to-face learning. They have to integrate it together and to think in a creative way how they can do it, because this is the idea that they have to have the learning distance part of their strategy, not as a reflection or reaction for the current crisis. It should be part of our strategy, because this is the case we will be on in the next period. And that's why the money, I will give it to the infrastructure of the school, especially technology. I will give it to the accessibility of the teachers. And also, we have to take care about those marginalized people who have been excluded from our policies in the crisis. We have to strengthen the teachers female. The teachers female in this crisis has been affected badly, because they, despite all this money that we spent on gender, despite all this money that we spent on equality, we found that the teachers female in this crisis have more load than others. They play a role to take care about their children, but also their students, and even in our region, they took care about their husbands and their husband family. And so they play double roles. The teacher female, they need help and they need support, and the policies of the education should give attention for the needs of these female women and female teachers in the school.
Refaat, I'm going to end with this one question, which again, I think everyone would do really well to understand from you. Is obviously there's an obsession with technology when it comes to this discussion on education. How do you see the use of technology in your region for schooling and for education?
It's different from country to country. It's different from village to others. But you know that half of the society, they don't have access to the technology. Half of the society, half of the people, even more than half, they don't have access to computer. They don't own computers. There is some villages, some cities, they don't have electricity. They don't have internet. So it's really one of difficult issue from if you speak about access. But if you speak about knowledge, I think the region need revolution in the technology. We have to use it more effectively than we use it in this crisis, because this crisis also shows us that the knowledge that we have in technology is limited. We just experience here and there without really having a vision what we are using, how we are using what we have in our hands. So I think we have to have revolution in the technology in the next week.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Refaat. I know this was very last minute announced, and we made arrangements. Is there one thing that you'd like everyone to know? What would it be about education where you are?
I think that's focusing on the academic part will not help us. We have also to think about the social outcome of the education. And this is the crisis. How you can really make link between the academic outcome and the social outcome of education.
Well, Refaat, on that note, please accept my thanks. Today we were joined by Refaat Sabbah, who is the Director General of the Teacher Creativity Center in Palestine and the President of the Global Campaign for Education. Please know that I thank you a lot. Thank you all.
Thank you.